it's not about black and white. It's about that white player and that black player. Why? Because of the history that they had before they came to the WNBA. You see, it was all instigated. If Angel Reese was never in Caitlin Clark's face, taunting her the way that she did when they mimicking what Caitlin Clark was doing to numerous opponents en route to the Final Four. And then Angel Reese and LSU bust their living you know what at that particular moment in time. And Angel Reese was in her face chirping at her the way that she did. It would have never gotten to this point.
Stephen A. Smith is not holding back when it comes to Angel Reese. After recent controversy involving Caitlin Clark and a comment that sparked accusations of racism, things have gotten heated. Fast.so, what did Angel Reese actually say? And why is Stephen A. so fired up about it? What started as a basketball discussion has now turned into a much bigger cultural conversation. Stephen A. didn't just share his opinion, he let loose. His reaction was loud, clear, and impossible to ignore. If you thought things on the court were intense, this reaction took it to another level. Let's break it all down. What happened, what was said, and why this moment is getting national attention.
Unfortunately, it comes with the crown.
I got to push back on you a little bit.
Okay.
I think you're being a little bit too PC. Let's call it what it is. I am not trying to say that she should be criticized or she is wrong. What I'm saying is by pulling it down, clearly you felt there was something wrong with it. Now, yes, you are 22. Yes, you are young. And there's a lot of things that we didn't want people to know about when we were her age. Fair enough, especially me, okay? Because I'm 30 plus years removed from that age. I got that part. There was no social media then or whatever. But here's my point to you. She knows this social media. She is not dumb. She's quite a brilliant young lady. Nor am I going to take my eyes off of what transpires with the WNBA over the next 2 weeks while Caitlin Clark is out with the quad strain. And the reason why is because, let me tell you something right now. I'm not going to go to word hate. I'm not going to be out there like RG3 was saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark or other players hate Caitlin Clark. But I will say this. I don't think it's specific about Caitlin Clark. I think it's what Caitlin Clark represents.
Stephen A. Smith didn't just criticize Angel Reese, he went all in. On live TV, he came prepared with facts, examples, and a passionate argument that felt more like a full-on report than a sports take. You'd think Angel Reese had done something far more serious than just make a controversial comment. But Stephen A. made it clear, he wasn't letting this one slide. His tone was intense, his message sharp, and his expression said it all. This wasn't just a reaction, it was a takedown.
Was a basketball play. You understand? It was the heat of the moment. I got it. The fact that the Sky was getting romped by 35 certainly didn't help matters. I get all of that too, okay? But the reality of the situation is clear. I think it was a basketball play. I don't think it's much ado about anything. I think both of you are 100% correct in terms of not only attributing it to competition, but loving the fact that they're being allowed to compete. We should not judge.
It all started with Stephen A.'s signature line, "Let me say this." And if you've heard him before, you know, that's the warning shot. What followed was a fiery takedown. He called out what he saw as clear double standards, loud and direct, like he was speaking straight from the pulpit. According to Stephen A., Angel Reese spoke out like she was stepping into a major movement, but missed the mark. Instead of making a strong, thoughtful point, she came off like she was chasing headlines. And sure enough, she got attention, just not the kind she was hoping for.
And Clark, one of the footages they show was Angel Reese getting up and clapping and stuff like that. They keep their eyes on stuff like this. Here's where I'm going where the rivalry kicks in. Angel Reese, the reason why, obviously, the whole Caitlin Clark Angel Reese thing happened was because when they met in the NCAA tournament in 2023, when Angel Reese was doing all of this, because Caitlin Clark had been doing that to her opponents when she got the best of them. So Angel Reese and LSU got the best of her, and that's what she did unapologetically, okay?
Stephen A. didn't hold back, he questioned everything. The timing of Angel Reese's comments, the way she said them, even whether she was more focused on drama than the game. He dissected the situation with precision, but still managed to make it feel like a roast. His main point? If you've got an issue with Caitlin Clark, prove it on the court, not by venting on a podcast like you're auditioning for a movie. And the way he said, Twitter? You'd think it was the scene of a crime.
Oh, she balled at Iowa in college. She's balled since she's been in the NBA. She came into the league last year with no break whatsoever between the college game and the pro game and did her thing. Ended up as an all-star, ended up being 4th in the league in MVP voting, was the clear winner for Rookie of the Year. No competition whatsoever in that regard when it was really all said and done. We know what she brings to the table.
And of course, Stephen A. didn't stop with Angel Reese. Once he senses any kind of double standard, he goes all in. He turned his focus to the bigger picture, calling out what he sees as a culture of outrage that cares more about social media moments than real sportsmanship. It wasn't just about one player anymore. Stephen A. was taking aim at a whole wave of athletes, fans, commentators, and online voices who, in his view, are more focused on going viral than knowing the game. For him, it was about protecting the integrity of sports, not just making noise.
Jackie Robinson of the WNBA will be Caitlin Clark. If she stays healthy, there's a group of them that would hope for her to be out. But
why do you say she's going to be the Jackie Robinson of the WNBA?
Well,
it's not like she's the first white girl.
She's not the first white girl, but she's the first white superstar at the levels where she's scoring these, the threes she's shooting. She's like a Steph Curry. She's the first actual superstar that people care. When's the last time we watched like college basketball? If I told you, tell me the greatest college female basketball players last 30 years, and you watch, I know her, she's our meet, but you look at some of these names, you see some of these people on how they do.
Stephen A. Smith took aim at more than just Angel Reese. He went after the bigger issue, double standards in sports and media. With sharp focus and undeniable intensity, he called out what he saw as selective outrage and shallow commentary. And he didn't hold back. While Angel Reese took most of the heat, Stephen A. widened the scope. He criticized a growing trend where identity politics are used as cover for poor performance, bad sportsmanship, and chasing headlines instead of improving the game. In his eyes, it wasn't just about one player, it was about a culture that's drifting away from the fundamentals of basketball, and through it all, his delivery was powerful. It wasn't just loud, it was deliberate, passionate, and rooted in frustration. He didn't just talk over the noise, he cut through it, calling out everyone who he felt was more focused on likes, retweets, and hot takes than actual basketball. What made it so impactful was that he didn't just rant, he broke it all down with precision. You could hear the disappointment in his voice, and if you know Stephen A., that kind of disappointment speaks louder than anger. One moment he sounded like a stern uncle handing out tough love, and the next, like a prosecutor laying out a closing argument. In that moment, Stephen A. became more than just a commentator. He became the voice of accountability in the sport, saying what many might have been thinking, but doing it with enough fire to make everyone stop and listen.
Actually feel bad for Angel Reese at this point, and it has nothing to do with like how she's handled herself or anything. It's just simply Caitlin Clark is so much better than Angel Reese at basketball that it doesn't feel fair.
Yeah, I think Angel Reese is struggling with the fact that Caitlin Clark is better at her best thing than she is.
Well, she's better at everything. And she had a triple-double. She's tied for the third most triple-doubles in WNBA history, and she's played 50 games.
Yeah.
She's just better.
By the time Stephen A. Smith finished, he had done more than deliver a fiery monologue. He held a mirror up to the entire sports world. No one was spared, fans, media, players, everyone had to face their own contradictions. And when he was done, it wasn't just a mic drop, it was a moment. He made it clear, if you're going to speak out, be consistent, be informed, and be ready to be held accountable. This wasn't just commentary anymore. It was a full-blown call-out of hypocrisy, delivered with energy, clarity, and the kind of focus that comes from someone who truly believes what they're saying. Behind the passion, the shouting, and the theatrics was a simple, uncomfortable truth. Stephen A. was right. Angel Reese tried to respond later on social media, but the momentum had already shifted. The internet moved fast. Clips of Stephen A.'s rant were everywhere, on TikTok, reaction videos, memes. Suddenly, Angel Reese, once seen as a rising star with attitude and confidence, was now caught up in a moment bigger than her, an example of how quickly public perception can turn.
Can you just call a spade a spade? Racism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. This is not a new thing. Sure. This is, and in that way, I do think Caitlin's being used as a pawn. Caitlin didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening. And that, I think, is what's been such a shock for all of us, that other people are surprised by this. We've been trying to tell you. And once again, for so long, as a player, I would almost joke. I'd be like, I would have loved to have shut up and dribble.
And here's the kicker, Stephen A. didn't even raise his voice the whole time. That's when you know he means business. When he gets quiet, it's like the calm before a storm, measured, intense, and more powerful than the shouting. One moment he's breaking down deep cultural issues, the next he's comparing Caitlin Clark's jump shot to a headline performance, and somehow, it all makes sense, but just when it seemed like Stephen A.'s takedown was the big finale, the real twist came into focus. Caitlin Clark wasn't even doing anything controversial. She was just out there playing ball, putting up points, staying focused, yet somehow living rent-free in the minds of half the WNBA. No trash talk, no drama, just results. She's averaging over 20 points a game, bringing in new fans, and creating headlines in a league that's long been asking for more attention. You'd think her presence would be celebrated. But instead, some veteran players seem more bothered than inspired, like she's stealing the spotlight instead of helping it shine brighter. Instead of a warm welcome, Clark's arrival has sparked tension. The vibe feels less like mentor the rookie and more like a high school drama, a star newcomer getting side eyes for standing out too quickly. And the irony? She's exactly the kind of player the league has been hoping for, exciting, marketable, and committed to the game.
Angel Reese is obviously and clearly taking too much heat because I believe a lot of people are using this situation as a cover for their innate vitriol and maybe their innate kind of racism or racial tension or racial misunderstanding. And now that they have been given a reason, at least a reason that they're going to try to take, which is Angel Reese reacting to Caitlin Clark's foul, now this is their opportunity to say what they always wanted to say, but they needed a mask put on to cover up the innate, whether it's racism or the innate prejudice or just the innate hate that they have for Angel Reese and the ways in which she carries herself. That's my issue with all of this.
Let's just be honest, Caitlin Clark has it. That rare mix of Steph Curry's shooting range, Midwestern politeness, and a jump shot so smooth it feels like she's guarding air. Normally, that would just be a great story about a rising star. But here's the catch, she's white. And because she's getting attention the WNBA hasn't seen before, suddenly the reaction is complicated. Now we're swimming in think pieces, awkward tweets, and interviews where some veteran players act like Caitlin's highlight reels are no big deal. Trust me, that's not mild weather. That's an earthquake, and some folks are still wobbling. We all know the league has fought hard for respect, fair pay, and airtime. Legends like Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, and Tamika Catchings built this foundation with sweat and sacrifice. But Caitlin Clark isn't tearing down their legacy, she's adding to it. She's like a new wing on an already proud house, complete with a marble kitchen and a media room, and yet, instead of gratitude, some players act like she's an unwelcome guest in their home. Let's call it what it is, this is internalized bias, subtle and sometimes unconscious, but real. What we're really seeing isn't just criticism, it's resentment.
First of all, the WNBA has been increasing in revenue way before Caitlin Clark was even thought of. Also, there have been a lot of women in this industry and in the WNBA specifically who have been fighting and advocating for changes in the league way before Caitlin Clark even stepped foot in it. Yes, jealousy is a natural reaction and it's a natural emotion and it exists whether people want to own up to it or not. And are there people across both male and female who may have animosity towards Caitlin Clark for the attention and the awareness and the pedestal that she has been put on? Sure. To lump all women together just further perpetuates this narrative that women are unable to be happy for other women. And as a woman, I find that insulting because one thing
How dare this young white player come into the league, land endorsements, get ESPN coverage, and fill arenas like she's headlining a Taylor Swift concert. Meanwhile, those same fans are buying your jerseys, watching your games, and celebrating your buzzer beaters like it's the Super Bowl. It's not just sad, it's the kind of sad where you shoot yourself in the foot, then complain about the limp. The WNBA should be rolling out the red carpet for Caitlin Clark, treating her like a superstar, handing out private jets. You get a raise. You get a sneaker deal. But instead, there's a whole undercurrent of cold shoulders and side eyes, even during warm-ups. It's like we're watching a reality show called basketball but with bitterness, and don't even get me started on the private jet debate. The same players who spent years fighting for better travel conditions, no more 6-hour layovers or flying coach at 6 feet 3 inches, now have a golden opportunity right in front of them. Yet instead of support, there's hesitation and tension.
Caitlin, when your head coach came out with a statement today saying she denounces all the racism that some people have felt in this league, players, trolls online, all those things, as one of the biggest stars in this league, what are your thoughts on the things not only your teammates have to endure, but just the entire league? And obviously, you spoke on this before, but just now your coach and your GM are talking about it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely upsetting. I don't think nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats. Those aren't fans, those are trolls, and it's a real disservice to the people in our league, the organization, the WNBA. But there are a lot of really good fans, whether they've been fans for 20 plus years or whether they're